Native Americans and Progressivism: The Impact of the 1928 Meriam Report by Kayla McCrae. Introduction. Overview. The Meriam Report led to major changes in federal Indian policy. This was a 7-month study in the report summary of the social economic conditions in Indian country. It also is referred to as the problem of Indian administration. The purpose was to enhance and improve living conditions of the Native Americans. The historical context. Background. Many of the Indians were poor, and so were their living conditions. There was a lot of land that was lost due to being pushed off of the land, and children were frequently enrolled in boarding school at young ages. The impact was that the culture of the Native Americans was impacted. Several of the children had become assimilated to white American ways and would no longer possess their native culture. Often, they were seen as strangers and had to regain their trust from their tribes because they were away from their culture for so long and they had become brainwashed. The commission and research was done by John Collier and the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs. It was led by Louis Meriam and a team of researchers. Their methods were field studies, interviews, and surveys that were conducted among the different tribes. In the Meriam Report of 1928, several key findings were found. The living conditions were one, curriculum, nutrition, and culture dislocation. When it came back to the impact of the policy, the living conditions was that the dorms were overcrowded and they lacked several things that were needed for personal hygiene. Curriculum instruction was very low for the students that were attending, and the teacher wages was very low as well. And the curriculum was excessively regimented. The food was insufficient and lacking nutritional value. Cultural dislocation. White Americans basically brainwashed the Native Americans to deprive them from their culture. Philosophical views. There was a shift from assimilation to self determination, culture preservation, and a foundation for future policy. With the shift from assimilation to self determination, this was about the emphasis of the importance of respecting Native American cultures, their governance, and lifestyles. The cultural preservation was arguing that the culture and traditions should be preserved rather than erased. And the foundation for future policy was about reserving some of the damage caused by the previous assimilationist policies and to promote tribal self governance. Recommendations were healthcare improvements, which called for better resources, educational access, better pay for teachers and curriculum that better suited the students who reached it, self governance, emphasis on tribal self determination and management of resources, nutrition, better nutrition, nutritionalized food in more sufficient amounts. The impact on the policy was that there was a shift in Indian policy. The report influenced the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. Long term effects was that it laid the groundwork for future advocacy and reform in Native American rights. The legacy. There was an influence on civil rights. The report's role in shaping discussions on the indigenous rights, contemporary relevancy was that it continues to be important in current policies and Native American activism. In conclusion, the Meriam Report exposed the injustices faced by Native Americans as far as their self determination, influencing of future policies, their education, and healthcare. The call to action is to advocate for Native Americans, support equitable access to resources, and engage the indigenous rights voices for the future. Here are my references, which are the textbook and an article that I found. And thank you.